doing the work in the British archives that the other historians have not done, Paul Norris has turned up the evidence that our own psychological warfare executive were behind the entire gas chamber story. And once again, we're quoting from the archives. They're in the British archives, how the psychological warfare executive decides quite cold-bloodedly and cynically to start putting out over the radio waves the allegation that the Germans have built special gas chambers for gassing the Jews and getting rid of them. And later on in the files, around about 1944, you find the chairman of the Joint Intelligence Committee, who is responsible for the psychological warfare executive, writing a handwritten minute. His name is Victor Cavendish Bentinck, an eminent banker, an industrialist, still alive in England now, Lord Portland as he is now, chairman of the Joint Intelligence Committee, writing and handwriting in 1944, words to the following effect: we've had a good run for our money with this gas chamber lie, but really we've got to be a bit careful because eventually it's going to be exposed and then our entire psychological warfare effort will be brought down with it. So isn't it a good time now to distance ourselves from this particular story? We've set the hair running, now we ought to let it go off by itself. A good run for their money in 1944, and here we are in 1988 and that hair is still running 44 years later.
He has 10 newspapers between the years of 1915 and 1938. The first newspaper is The Sun of New York. New York, June the 6th, 1915. And the article is called Horrors Worse than Kishinev, Charged Against Russia Today. Since the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, the Jewish people have had no darker page in their history than that which the Russian government is writing today. 6 million Jews, one half of the Jewish people throughout the world, are being persecuted, hounded, humiliated, tortured, starved. Thousands of them have been slaughtered. Hundreds of thousands of Jews, old men, women and children, are being driven mercilessly from town to town. Dear brethren, have mercy on the 6 million Jews in Russia and take our part. The New York Times, October the 18th, 1918, page 12, and the article is called $1 billion Fund to Rebuild Jewry. There it is. 6 million souls will need help to resume normal life when war is ended. 6 million Jews need help. The New York Times, September the 8th, 1919, page 6. And the article is called Ukrainian Jews Aim to Stop Pogroms. Mass meeting hears that 127,000 Jews have been killed and 6 million are in peril. We come out now before the world with a determined slogan, "Those pogroms must stop," said the President in his annual message. It is only a question of holding these facts continually before the civilized world. We must not permit the world to slumber. This fact that the population of 6 million souls in Ukraine and in Poland have received notice through action and by word that they are going to be completely exterminated. The New York Times, the date, November the 12th, 1919, page 7. The article is called Tells Sad Plight of Jews. Felix M. Warburg says they were the worst sufferers in the war. The successive blows of contending armies have all but broken the back of European Jewry, he said, and have reduced to tragically unbelievable poverty, starvation and disease about 6 million souls, or half the Jewish population of the earth. It's the Atlanta Constitution, February 23rd, 1920. The article's on the front page here. It's called $50,000 raised in city to save suffering Jews. So I'll go to page 3. He called upon the Atlanta Jews to arise to the occasion and to contribute to the emergency fund in order that the lives of 6 million of Jewish people may be saved. Rabbi Marx made an eloquent plea for generous responses to the call of the representatives of the Jewish Relief Fund. He drew a graphic picture of the starvation and suffering of the 6 million Jews who live in Eastern Europe and Palestine. Thousands upon thousands of our people have died of starvation and pestilence, and thousands more will die, he said. The New York Times, the date, Friday, May the 7th, 1920, page 11. And the article is called The Jewish War Aid Gets $100,000 Gift. The Fund for Jewish War Sufferers in Central and Eastern Europe, where 6 million face horrifying conditions of famine, disease and death, was enriched yesterday by a contribution of $100,000 from Nathan Strauss. Where 6 million face horrifying conditions of famine, disease and death. New York Times, Wednesday, July the 20th, 1921, page 2. And the article is called Begs America, Save 6 million in Russia. Massacre threatens all Jews as Soviet power wanes, declares Cunning, coming here for aid. Russia's 6 million Jews are facing extermination by massacre. As the famine is spreading, the counter-revolutionary movement is gaining and the Soviets' control is waning. The Gazette, Montreal, Tuesday, December the 29th, 1931. Page 6. 6 million Jews face starvation. 6 million. Bad conditions in southeastern Europe reported by Rabbi Wise. Fears crisis at hand. 6 million Jews in Eastern Europe face starvation, and even worse, during the coming winter. New York Times, Sunday, May the 31st, 1936. Page 14, and the article is called Americans Appeal for Jewish Refuge. The petition, in expressing the opinion of enlightened Christian leadership in the United States favouring a larger Jewish immigration into Palestine, stressed the intolerable sufferings of the millions of Jews in the European Holocaust. Great Britain has it within her power to throw open the gates of Palestine and let in the victimised and persecuted Jews escaping from the European Holocaust. The New York Times, this is dated February the 23rd, 1938. Page 23, Jewish teachers chided by Isaacs. Jewish tragedy pictured. A depressing picture of 6 million Jews in Central Europe deprived of protection or economical opportunities, slowly dying of starvation, all hope gone, was presented to the teachers by Jacob Tarshish. The Jewish tragedy started when Hitler came into power in 1933.
Fortunately, some members of the media
Some members of the media use their platforms
to push their own personal bias.
To push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to our